UPod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/UPodStreet, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPodStreet at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to UPod Street. All right. Welcome, everyone who just watched Colton Cowser get his first hit and first RBI. I'm some guy that's praying every night that the Orioles offense wakes up from the dead. And joining me, as always, is the brunette Thor himself, Jack Bain. Jack,
Speaking of which, took 4 inches off
you took 4. Yeah.
off
You
the
know,
mop.
I will say this. It looks good. It looks good.
Thank you.
But anytime you cut the flow, I get a little disappointed.
I know. It was much needed. I hadn't had a haircut in 3 years, pre-pandemic. So that hair's pretty. The hair's gone through a lot.
Did you start growing your hair because of the pandemic, or was it just happenstance?
Well, you weren't really allowed to get a haircut at the time, and then I just kind of let it ride. Finished out, 2 full baseball seasons with it, and it looks great in pictures. So, yeah. Had to let it eat a little bit, but yeah, it's feeling healthier now. Much shorter amount of time to wash my hair in the shower. I tell you what.
Well, I guess there's a convenience factor to it. I don't know. I'm gonna let you know right now. I think the fans like the flow, Jack.
Yeah, well,
but it'll come back.
It's got another 3 years. I'm not getting another one for 3 years. So.
Well, the good news is that hair always grows back. So.
It's true. Most of the time.
And when if you're me, it starts to gray. So,
well,
Jack, we got a lot to talk about. We pushed it back a couple days because you were on vacation in Connecticut.
Yes.
But there's been a lot that has happened in those 3 days. Plus, we're gonna take this as an opportunity. We're officially past the halfway point numerically for the season, and we're coming up on the unofficial halfway point of baseball, which is the All-Star break. So we have a lot of stuff that we want to cover today. We're gonna start it off like we normally do. Jack, if you want to give us a brief overview of what's going on in the league right now.
For sure. It feels like a lot of different, superstars are getting hurt. Mike Trout, most notably, is going to miss 4 to 8 weeks. He had surgery to repair his hamate bone. For those that don't know, the hamate bone is kind of like the curved bone in your hand, I believe. But yeah, sucks to see him go down. And Shohei Ohtani was also pulled from the game yesterday in the middle of his start. Yeah, in the middle of this start. They haven't said anything in regards to an actual injury, but hopefully those two guys can get back on the field ASAP.
Aaron Judge is still hurt.
Aaron Judge is still hurt. I mean,
I saw something saying his toe could take years to heal, and he's thinking about just playing through the pain.
Yeah, I mean, I know so there's guys that'll get injured, right? And it's never fully the same, and they do play through it. Obviously, they're not 100%. So, I mean, hopefully for him, man, that he can get back to a point where he can play. It's like Bryce Harper playing through his UCL surgery. I mean, the guy was playing the World Series with a torn UCL. So there's definitely things that you can play through. For Judge, I wouldn't doubt if his fielding kind of declines because of this. I guess
would they move into full-time DH, you think?
It's possible. Then they have to keep Trotting Stanton out there. So we'll see. But as far as on the field performances go, the Tampa Bay Rays are still chugging along at the top of the AL East. They are 6 games above the Orioles right now, followed by the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Red Sox. We're coming to you live here during the Yankees-Orioles game, the bottom of the 6th. Those are up 4-2 right now. So this is actually turned into a bigger game after the Orioles kind of slid a little bit. The rest of the series is going to be pretty important going into the All-Star break.
Yeah, you guys
Uh,
could get some live Orioles reactions, by the way.
yeah,
I was hoping Kowser's first hit was gonna happen while we were live. Probably best that it didn't because I let out a big yell,
yeah,
which wouldn't be good for the audio at all. Which happened literally like what, Jack? Like 3 minutes before we went live,
yeah.
something like
Definitely
that.
was that 4-run top of the sixth was ensuing as we were prepping. So, um, but Alek Manoah is scheduled to start for the Blue Jays this coming Friday after being
Who would
optioned.
have thought?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Unfortunate that the Orioles aren't playing the Blue Jays, but
Right?
anyways, after their dominance in Baltimore, after a fiery speech from their manager Rocco Baldelli, the Minnesota Twins are above 500.
Respectable.
Oh, they've won 4 of their last 5 games. Cleveland Guardians are starting to turn around as well. They are 42 and 43 in the ever so intense race in the AL Central. Detroit Tigers, Chicago White Sox, and the Kansas City Royals round out the division. Apparently, the Royals are like setting records for how bad they've been recently.
I saw something, and I don't know if it still holds true. It was like 2 starts ago, I think, for what's his name, our pitcher from last year, uh,
Jordan Lyles.
Jordan Lyles. I brain fart there. He's not on our team anymore. He's dead to us. No.
Yeah.
He had something like 16 starts so far for the Royals, and the Royals hadn't won a single one of his starts.
Yeah, not surprising. They're 25 and 61.
Yeah.
The Texas Rangers continue their dominance at the plate. They are 51 and 35. Houston Astros, 2.5 games out of first place. The Astros have been very, very up and down this year. They're either
Well, they're
real
lucky
hot or
that
real bad.
the Royals, I saw something that they've gone like 10 and 25 in their last 35 games, the Rangers have. Something like
10
that.
and 25.
That might be wrong. It might be, or they've only won 10 of their last 25 games. That might be what it was.
Yeah, I know that they've been doing rather poorly recently. But yeah, the Astros are climbing up. Angels are 2 games above 500. They have dropped 7 of their last 10. So, like we said at the top, like those injuries would be killer for this Angels team that's trying to make it into the back end of the wild card there. They are 4 games out of the wild card. Mariners still playing mediocre baseball. They are 42 and 42. And the Athletics, they're still a major league team.
Technically.
They still go out there every night and play. The Atlanta Braves are on their heads currently, 57 and 28. They've won 9 of their last 10. They actually won 9 in a row up until today, or yesterday, excuse me. Atlanta Braves certified.
They're gonna run away with that division, I think.
Yeah, it would be a tough one for the Marlins to catch them. The Miami Marlins still in second place as we approach the All-Star break. However, they are 8 games out of first place, but they do hold that top wild card spot there in the NL with a record of 50 and 37. Philadelphia Phillies, 45 and 39 in third place. The New York Mets, 18 games out of first place. Washington Nationals, again, a baseball team. Over in the NL Central, got a bit more of a race there than the AL Central. Cincinnati Reds keep pace in first place. They've won 3 in a row. They are 47 and 39, followed up by the Milwaukee Brewers at 46 and 40. Pittsburgh Pirates stunk in the month of June. No other way to put it. They are 40 and 45 and lost pace in that race a little bit. Chicago Cubs took a trip across the pond to play the St. Louis Cardinals last week, and those are the 2 teams in the cellar of that division. St. Louis Cardinals, 15 games under 500.
That's how you sell baseball in other countries, right?
Yeah, right. Arizona Diamondbacks, who had quite a good June, are 50 and 36. They are 2.5 games above the LA Dodgers. San Francisco, 46 and 40. The Padres were playing better ball at the start of June, kind of tapered off there at the end. Juan Soto had some choice comments to say about facing Shohei Ohtani last night, and he immediately was put in a blender in his first at bat and struck out on 4 pitches.
Yeah, I think his second at bat, he struck out and he tweaked his arm or something. He swung so bad at a ball.
Yeah,
Why you don't badmouth Shohei Ohtani?
You just can't, because then that happens.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Anyways, that is what's going on around the league.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jack. I think the unfortunate thing is we have to go from there to update everyone what's been going on with the Orioles for the past week and a half or so. We're gonna quickly go through this because, like we said, we had a lot of stuff that we have to get through. Started off with that Red series with a Jordan Westburg debut that was interrupted by 2-hour rain delays.
Oh my god, dude! The rain in that series was just miserable.
Here's the thing. This is what's lucky for me because I live within walking distance of the stadium. So when I went to that first game, I went to Westburg's debut, and the first of the game got pushed back. And I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. And then as soon as Westburg came up for his first at bat, it started raining. And then it kind of tapered off, and it was like, okay. And then by the time Westburg came up to his second at bat, it just unleashed. And so, I mean, I went to the members lounge just because it was somewhere inside and air conditioned and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And just kind of waited it out, and it was worth it because afterwards we could sit wherever we wanted. And I got to be up close for his first hit. And by staying the whole game, we ended up getting those free ticket vouchers, which was nice.
Right.
I sincerely believe that the only reason why they gave those out is because they thought they were going to have to cancel the game when the rain was going on for 2 hours. And they're just like, well, I guess we got to hand these out now. But you know what? I'll take it nonetheless. But Orioles did win that first game. And oh my goodness. Sorry, that was quite a catch. Orioles looked like Aaron Hicks was about to take another revenge shot against the Yankees and just barely missed one. But the Orioles would then drop the Orioles would drop the next 2 games of that series. Didn't look good. I know, Jack, you went to the second game of that series. Any comments?
So that was Tuesday.
Yeah.
And another just kind of rain-soaked day. I mean, it was 1-1, I believe, right before the delay.
Yeah, something like that.
And we went into the delay, and I mean, it was an hour and 45 rain delay. It just sucks, dude. The rain sucks.
Yeah.
And that whole series, all last week, even just outside of Orioles games, it was just miserable.
Right.
But notes on the game, Andrew Abbott on the Reds looked really, really dominant. He went 6 strong, struck out 8, allowed 1 run, and he just kind of had the Orioles very off balance.
He's a young guy, right? That was
yes,
one of
he's
the Reds' his 5th start or something.
Yes, that was his 5th start. He's the Reds' 5th overall prospect in a pretty loaded farm. So that just kind of gives you his pedigree. It was 2-1, and then the rain hit.
Okay.
Tyler Wells pitched fine. Went 6 innings, 2 earned, 7 Ks.
2 earns were both solo shots, weren't they? That's his MO.
Yep. So I mean, outside of that, it was just a weird game.
Yeah.
It was just a weird game, and this was also a game that Aaron Hicks got called out on strikes for a pitch clock violation.
Yeah. A pitch clock violation while he was standing in the box.
Yes.
I guess it's possible that he didn't make eye contact in time or something like that, but I thought he looked ready, but I'm not the umpire, so
yeah. Chalked up the game. Then next
Wednesday night happened.
Were you at Wednesday night?
I did not go Wednesday night. I was watching from home and got very frustrated with Keegan Aiken, which, first of all, why you're bringing Keegan Aiken in to on Pride Night, someone who refused to get the vaccine for the longest time too. People were saying he did it on purpose. I don't think he did it on purpose. I think Keegan Aiken just decided to be Keegan Aiken.
People said that he did that on purpose.
Oh, that's what I was getting. Tons of people shouting me out saying like, "Oh, Keegan Aiken, he probably blew it on purpose because it was Pride Night and he wanted people to be upset on Pride Night." And I was like, I don't think that's the case. Keegan
Oh,
Aiken
I
was a
don't know.
guy fighting
I
for his
don't believe
job,
that.
and I mean, don't get me wrong, he pitched like he was doing it on purpose,
Well,
uh, but he was awful. It was something like he had given up in his last 5 appearances, like 18 runs or something ridiculous like that.
yeah,
Um,
he's struggling, and I mean that's what last week was, right? It was the middle relief guys. Obviously, Aiken didn't pitch in middle relief in this game, but he really only pitches like in those sixth, seventh innings of games, and he just has been bad. He
really
has
bad.
just been really bad.
Um,
And like in this game, you look at the box score and you see six runs from Gibson. Yeah, he's been struggling as of late.
but the Orioles
It's
made it
gonna
close.
Yeah, the Orioles made it close. They put up 4 runs in the first, and then they were down 6-4 most of the game. Late in the game, put some runs up, and then just wheels fell off at the end.
And then Keegan Aiken, I believe, when he was finally off this team, I think he's on the IL. He found that pothole and stepped in it, I guess, to hurt his back.
Oh yeah,
So
that's a ghost injury.
yeah, there was no way when he was set down. I was like, he's not injured. He's
No.
not injured. But the good news, Jack, is that when that happened, your guy and my guy, Nick Vespi, came up
Yeah,
to replace
man.
him. Got to see Vespi Friday night, which was Hawaiian shirt night. Or not, excuse me, it
Floppy.
was floppy hat night. Jack, I did not get my floppy hat.
I know.
Um,
What, dude? Just grow up and brave the rain. Go get your hat.
dude, it was a monsoon. Let me tell you. Okay, so story time. Uh, Before the game, had all my friends over. We were grilling, right? Storm starts to come in like 10 minutes before we were about to walk to the stadium. And so we're like, okay, get everything inside, like whatnot. As soon as we get like the last thing inside, it just absolute monsoon. We're getting like tornado warnings on our phone and stuff like that. And I'm just looking outside and I was like, I'm willing to walk through the rain to get my floppy hat. But I don't think any of my 8 friends who were over were willing to walk through the rain for the floppy hat because it really was it wasn't even rain. It was just buckets being dumped. So we did not get our floppy hat. They also only had 15,000 floppy hats. It was a
For
nearly sold out game.
34,000 people.
Yeah, and they only had 15,000 floppy hats. The game itself ended up not being much better as the Orioles gave up a ton of runs, ended up losing 8-1. In that game, we did see, if I'm remembering correctly, Jack, make sure I'm not mixing my games up. We did see 3 innings from Nick Vespi, right?
Yeah, he pitched pretty good. 3 innings,
He
three
went
hits,
3
three
scoreless
Ks.
innings,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he
which is
pitched
exactly
good.
what we've been saying. Bring up Nick Vespi. He's better than some of the guys you got in the pen right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like this game was kind of his audition. This was the first game that he played in when he got called up. And I mean, there's been a slew of roster moves since he was called up, and he evaded all of them. So I hope that he's now here to stay.
I kind of wonder the whole delay on Vespi, because last year he was kind of a 1 inning guy.
Yeah.
They brought him in for 3 innings this game, and he pitched well. And when I was looking back at his stats in AAA for this year, it looked like they were extending him. It looked like they were trying to
Mm-hmm.
get him to go multiple innings. So I wonder if the delay was that they wanted him to be a longer relief
Just
type
kind of
type
building
of
them up.
pitcher before they brought him up. So I think he might be here to stay, and that's going to be his role moving
Yep.
forward. Is hey, you're our 2-3 inning guy.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, he got knocked around against the Yankees this weekend, so we'll see how he responds to it.
Yeah. Uh, Hawaiian shirt game. Uh, Huge crowd, absolutely massive crowd. They even opened up, Jack. They even opened up the left field upper
Yeah,
reserves.
40,000
Um,
people.
yeah, and I did get my Hawaiian shirt. You
Good,
best believe I
good.
got the Hawaiian
Happy for
shirt.
you.
Uh,
Happy for you.
but uh, the game itself was a boring game. Uh,
Yeah,
I
one
mean,
nothing.
Orioles go on to lose 1-0. Had a chance there in the ninth inning potentially to tie it. Didn't. Um, I mean, there's not much else to say about it other than that. The offense has just been dead. That's the story of the past week or so. Is the offense just hasn't been showing up.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, pitchers are pitching out there. I mean, Bailey Ober's been really good for the Twins all year. He's got a 2.7 on the year. And then you hand it over to, the eighth inning guy, and then Yohan Duran comes in and he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour splinkers at you. Like, there's no shot. Bradish pitched great, to be honest. Like, it was just that one home run to Gallo, and that was the only mistake. Bullpen held it down. Just a pitcher's duel game, and we didn't get one mistake pitch, or we didn't take advantage of a mistake pitch like Joey Gallo was able to.
right.
It's just the way it goes. It's baseball sometimes.
Yeah. Even the game we won out of the series Sunday, that was a low scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
Orioles barely made it out with a win in that one. Ended up being what, 2-1?
Yes, 2-1. Cedric Mullins made an insane catch in the bottom of the first.
And you had a great moment there where Aaron Hicks tied it up. And then Jordan Westberg took one to the hand, which made him sit a couple days afterwards.
Elbow.
But walked in a run because of that. So Orioles did pull out a win. Orioles still yet to be swept in the Adley Rutschman era, which is kind of an insane stat.
And if this score that we're watching right now holds, that'll ring true.
You better start knocking on some wood.
I got some wood.
There you go. I knock on my head when I have to knock on wood.
But Yohan Duran, man, did not look like we were just like hyping him up about his stuff, and then he kind of blew up in this outing. So
yeah. Orioles then traveled to New York, where first game against Domingo Germain or Hermain, who
Herman.
just came Herman, however you pronounce it, who had just come off a perfect game. The Orioles got to him. I mean, the Orioles got 3 runs off him. Probably should have had more.
Yep.
Chased him in what, like the 4th inning?
He went through 4 1/3.
4 1/3.
Yes.
Which, guy who just pitched a perfect game. Granted, he pitched a perfect game against Oakland.
Perfect game is still a perfect game.
Perfect game is still a perfect game. You chased him pretty early, and then you didn't score another run after that. And typical Yankee fashion, we were up 3-0. They get a couple solo shots, end up tying the game. Entire crowd is going nuts, and suddenly they hit a 3-run blast to put it out of reach, and the Orioles never score again. That was a pretty deflating game.
Yeah, I remember watching it. Just kind of, it's very quiet as Harrison Bader unloaded on a baseball. Tough loss. Hot Yankees team really could have used to squeak that one out late in the game, but yeah.
And then even yesterday, Orioles were down 3-0 pretty early. Aaron Hicks had a revenge shot against the Yankees. Adam Frazier had a 2-run shot. You tied it up, and you thought, like, okay, here we go. Bats are waking up. Let's get this thing. And then once again, Yankees score a couple runs, put it out of reach. Orioles don't win again. And that's kind of where we sat at, end of the day yesterday, Jack. We were sitting there, kind of everyone's collectively thinking this offense needs something. This lineup needs some sort of shakeup because we are scuffling bad. I mean, that's 2 wins out of our last 6, 7, something like that.
7.
I mean, it's the first really bad adversity that this team has faced all season, and you just kind of felt like something had to happen. And lo and behold, late last night, everyone starts having their phones blow up. Why? The Orioles' number 2 prospect, baseball's MLB Pipeline's number 14 prospect, the 2021 fifth overall draft pick, Colton Cowser, gets the call to the
When
big leagues.
Rock Kubakto tweeted that, I think everybody flew to Twitter.
Oh yeah,
Everybody flew.
I had actually, so I had gotten home from 4th of July, barbecue and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I had worked all day, so I went to bed, right when I got home, basically. I fell asleep for like an hour or two, and then I kind of woke up, rolled over, looked at my phone, and I just saw this text from you, Jack, that just said Cowser.
Yeah.
And it took everything for me to not like jump out of my bed going, oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, you're gonna be like that when you're calling up your second overall prospect, who's arguably been having the best year out of anybody in the Orioles farm system at what level he's doing it. Colton
That
Cowser, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's the thing is everyone for a long while was calling up Jordan Westberg, and Jordan Westberg did deserve a call up. He was having
Yeah.
a great season,
Mm-hmm.
but I would argue Cowser was having an even better season.
Yeah. No, I mean, you look at the numbers, and by the numbers, Colton Cowser is having or had a much better season in the minor leagues than Jordan Westberg was. He was batting 330 with an OBP of 459 and he's slugging 537 for an OPS of 996. I mean, that's an all-star. No matter where you look at it, that's an all-star. What really jumps out to me is that, yeah, he's got a high K rate, 23.3%. Where Jordan Westberg also has a high K rate, Westberg doesn't walk. Cowser's
Right.
got a walk rate of 18.7 as opposed to Westberg's 9.5. So where there's a little bit more swing and miss in Cowser's game, he counteracts that by walking a ton. And I mean, you've seen that in his at bats tonight. Is that he's been pretty patient. He's waiting to get the pitch that he was. And speak of the devil, he literally just walked.
Yeah, just walked as we
So
were speaking it into existence.
he just walked to lead off the eighth inning. So I mean, yeah, and you'll see him hit for power, like we said. Not as many home runs as Westberg had, but I think that he's going to have a lot less growing pains than Westberg has been having or will have in his
What
transition to
amazes
Major League.
me about the success that Cowser has had is he did this in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been like the great criticism of the Mike Elias era is as we've had these prospects come up, Mike Elias has been holding them down for too long, that sort of thing, that he's extending trade value. And I even thought like with like Westberg, I was like, oh, he's just testing out his trade value and that sort of thing. Cowser was in the minors for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's making his major league debut. And he was more than ready. I mean, Jack just read off the numbers. The guy just gets on base. I mean, you go back to the Moneyball. Why do we like him? He gets on base, right? His on base percentage is well over 400.
Yeah.
I mean, he's almost getting on base 50% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something this offense needs. And I'll tell you what, Jack, the big thing that this offense really, really needed coming out of this past week is they have not been hitting for power. They
No.
are not slugging at all. They're getting a lot of base hits, but they're not slugging.
Yeah.
Cowser can hit a ball an insane distance.
Yeah. He
He
proved
had
it.
one that earlier this year was what, like 475 feet.
Yeah. That was in spring training.
Yeah, I saw him in spring training hit a walk-off home run. And when the ball comes off his bat, I mean, it just sounds like a rocket. His first at
Yeah.
bat in this game, it was an out because it went directly to Anthony Volpe.
Mm-hmm.
But came off the bat at 107 miles an hour. Your
Yeah.
first major league at bat, you hit a ball 107 miles an hour off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
He's got pure power.
No doubt.
Jack, is there like what else do you want to say like as far as like what we should expect for Colton Cowser and what impact he's going to have on this team?
So one thing I will say is that Colton Cowser is gonna bring the vibes up in the clubhouse, no doubt. He's just a funny dude.
Oh
Like
my God.
just like watching the way that he's like one been playing in this game, and then two, like the way that he's carried himself, like on social media posts and just whatever. I'm sure that this clubhouse, all now that all of these younger guys are coming up, is going to be really really fun, and vibes are going to be up going into the All-Star break.
I love the vibes around Colton Cowser. I
Yeah,
think
dude.
that's one of the they were talking about it on the broadcast today with him coming up, where it was like, all these young guys have come up together. They
Mhm.
all know each other. They've all been roommates together. They're all friends, right?
Right.
And where Jordan Westberg is a good player, he's pretty serious. He takes the job pretty seriously, right?
Yeah, it works
Colton
hard.
Cowser is the one that brought the saying around Jordan Westberg that he never smiles, right? Like that was Cowser. That was a
Yeah.
Cowserism. Um, he went huge on social media last year because I think Gunnar Henderson revealed that he was building a Lego Millennium Falcon,
Yeah.
and and this year, he and Gunnar Henderson are having a Lego build off for the big Razor Crest set, and they've been
Very
having a competition to see who can build it the
good.
fastest.
That's funny.
Um, it's you could just tell all the interviews today with Cowser was just people were really excited that he was there, and so I think you're absolutely right, Jack. One thing with Ryan Mountcastle being injured is that the vibes have been off.
Yeah.
Cowser is going to bring those vibes right back up.
Yeah, and I know Mountcastle was struggling, but he might come back and he might start raking. So, but another little nugget on Colton Cowser is that you can stick him anywhere in the outfield, and he's gonna excel. Like he's not just a power guy with a below average glove. Like he's got a good glove. This year, I mean, he's played all across the outfield, mainly in center field. Obviously, he's not going to play center field that much um, with the big league club. So he's starting in left tonight. That's actually his least played position, but he all in 2023 made 3 errors in the outfield, which kind of for an outfielder it's a little high. Just over the course of like 50 some games, but I'm not worried about it. I mean, it's literally just 3 errors.
No, and the thing is, like you said, he mostly plays center field. A guy that can play center field can play anywhere on the outfield.
Yeah.
No problems. I expect great things from him. I think that this improves the Orioles outfield, where before you were putting Santander out in the outfield a lot, and Santander has had some great plays this year. Um, he's generally not noted for his defense.
No.
So now if you can get Santander off his feet a little bit more, maybe more of a DH role. And again, we're going to talk about a little bit like what kind of shakeups we want to see and that sort of thing.
Mm,
Um, but I think that's only going to help the team to just bring a lot of stability
right.
to that outfield. If we can now no longer see guys like Adam Frazier out in the outfield,
Oh yeah.
um, I think that's huge. If we don't have to worry about them possibly bringing like James McCann to the outfield or something,
What?
that's
Where
huge.
did you get that from? Is that
That
for
was one
real?
of the things they first said when James McCann came over. It's like, well, he can play some first base, and even in a pinch, he can play the outfield. I'm like, please don't put James McCann in the outfield.
James
Um,
McCann doesn't need to have any other kind of glove on than a catcher's mitt.
no. And so I think bringing stability to that outfield is going to be absolutely huge. I think if you're trotting out there every single game right now, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Colton Cowser, that's a good outfield. I like that outfield. And in order to make room for Cowser, we got rid of Ryan McKenna, who, you know, McKenna, thank you for your service. Hope we don't have to see you up here with this club again, though, because he was not having the numbers. He had speed, which was great. He was a decent glove. but that's the best we can say about him. We just have better guys on the team right now.
Yeah, no doubt. Like they hope, like trade him, just trade him. We don't need him. Package him up with somebody. Like we have way too many major league ready outfielders now, and we're kind of heavy on outfielders as is, anyways. I mean, think about it now. You got Kaiser, Mullins, Santander. Those are your starters tonight. You got Hayes, who's building back up from injury, and then you got Hicks. You got five
Yeah.
outfielders right now. Somebody else is gonna have to go when Hayes is
Not to mention, knock knock knock, who's coming by the end of the year?
right. And
Heston
Kerstad's
Kjerstad.
raking. Kerstad's raking too. So there's gonna
Yeah.
need to be some other moves. And I know a lot of people, I guess, liked McKenna. That's what I saw on like different social media outlets today. But
He's a vibe. But that's about it. He's a vibe guy. Vibe guys don't win you games all the time, though.
No, it's true. But like I hate to say it because Aaron Hicks has been a lot of fun since he's been on the club. But
he's my fourth outfielder.
We have 5 right now.
We'll talk about what we want to see internal here in a bit.
All right.
Before we move on, though, because we're going to talk about the first half and then what we want to see in the second half. Do you want to say anything else about Kaiser? Any other things you want to say about Kaiser?
Yeah, he needs to bring the beard back.
He does. I don't know why he shaved the beard before this game, but he suddenly looks 12 years old. Get foul. Oh no. Oh no.
It is not.
Yanir Cano just gave up a home run. It's now 4-3.
Is that his first home run?
If we get a live reaction of the Orioles blowing this game, I'm gonna be really sad.
No, it's okay. They could be good.
All right. So we're gonna move into our discussion now, Jack, of our halfway point, looking back at the first half of the year so far. What grade would you give the Orioles team right now for the first half of the season?
An A-. I mean, if you're just thinking about like win total, like what the Orioles win total was supposed to be, right? We're at what? 49 wins already. Their over-under was like 78 for this year. Anytime you're like pretty much already there, like you would have to try to blow 20 just to get to that total. The reason I don't give it an A is because good playoff teams have really, really strong months every month. And I, off the top of my head, don't know what their record was in June. But this little slide right here, like
they were 1 or 2 games above 500, I think.
Yeah, which that's like we said weeks ago. Like just go 500 through these tough months. But when you are trying to fight for first place, I mean, look at the Rays, right? 57 wins, something crazy, 57. Like they do not cool down, and the Orioles have kind of cooled down here towards the end of June, start of July, and that's why I give it an A-, not an A.
Yeah, I was gonna say an A- as well. You stole my answer. I think for me, it's because so first of all, like you said, just looking at the win total and where the Orioles were expected to be, literally every single analyst, major sports news outlet, everybody, Vegas even expected the Orioles to backslide off of what was a surprising year last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Orioles, to their credit, came out swinging. They have so far, for the most part, beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that the Orioles last year, when they were getting good, kind of had trouble with, is even when they were playing well, sometimes they were giving up a lot of series to teams that they were definitely better than. And so right now the Orioles are beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. The reason they get the minus, and this isn't necessarily a knock, right, is when they play good teams, all that confidence that I have in this team as a good team kind of wavers. We've had some good series where they've looked really good. As of late, they have not looked good against good teams. Um, and like you said, like with the Rays, it's not just all right, do you win a lot of games? It's also, do you in those head-to-head matchups with really good teams beat them?
Right.
Because the thing is, when you get to October, you're not going to be playing the Oakland Athletics. You're not going to be playing the
Right.
Kansas City Royals. You're going to be playing the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, that being said, it's not enough for me to knock it down from an A to a B because uh, at the end of the day, I still think that this is not the year that Mike Elias is looking at for a World Series.
No,
I
definitely not.
I think this is 100% Mike Elias wants this team to make it into the playoffs, get some playoff experience. Oh no. Oh no. Oh yes. Okay, sorry. That almost looked like a home run. It was a typical Yankee crowd reaction where everybody was going nuts, and then it turned out to be a fly out.
Yeah.
So the Yankee fans got me. I apologize.
Right.
Um,
Just to like check in on what the Orioles odds are for playoffs.
right.
To win the World Series, they're at plus 3,000. So that's like a 3% chance of winning.
Yeah.
Um, behind teams like the Twins, Phillies, Giants, D-backs, Blue Jays, Yankees, Astros, Rangers. This is according to FanDuel.
Right.
To win the AL East, they're at plus 1,700. The Tampa Bay Rays are minus 800. So for those who don't know, when you're minus, it's more likely to happen. So minus 800 is like almost guaranteed that it'll happen.
Because that's like your payout right there. If you were to
Right.
bet what like $100 on
You would win
the Rays to
108.
win the World Series, you'd get paid out what, like $8,
Well, that was
something
for
like that.
the AL East, but yes, you would
Oh,
win.
the
You would
Aleys.
you would win $8 in total, 108.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like the Orioles really like according to Vegas, like to win division and World Series, still not favorites, which is understandable because they weren't supposed to be here.
Right.
And as of right now, they don't look great. But I think their odds to make the playoffs. Let me just pull up fan graphs.
I think the most recent I saw was like 66% or something to make the playoffs.
66. It's
I
pretty
think it's in the
good
60s now.
because the Orioles are always point lower than
Yeah.
they should be. Like genuinely.
Well,
They
last year they missed the playoffs by like 3 games and they never made it above like 11% for a chance to make the playoffs. And they were that close.
according to Fangraphs, they are 51.2% to make the playoffs and 1.6% to win the World Series.
So, what that all comes down to is that they have overperformed for everyone's expectations for the first half of the season. And I think we should all be proud with where they are at this point in the season.
For sure.
They're just unlucky that they happen to be in the AL East where it doesn't feel like what they've done is enough.
Correct.
Jack, do you have a favorite win so far this season? I can go first if you want me to go
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
While you think on it, I think my favorite win so far in the season was one of the games when they were home against the Athletics. I think it was the
Oh, so like
second
early.
game of the season where Ryan Mountcastle had 9 RBIs, including a grand slam.
Yeah.
And that game just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was a nice high scoring game. It helped that I got to be there for it. So it was a really exciting game for me to witness in person.
Mm-hmm.
But you just kind of, yeah, it was against the Athletics, but it was just a really fun game to watch. And you really afterwards felt like this team can battle against some adversity. And, anytime you have a guy that hits 9 RBIs, that's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, all like the high scoring ones, right, where we have milestones, are really fun. But just to pick out two, like we had two cycles this year.
Yeah,
Cycles are really fun, especially that whole game that said had his in was overall good game.
I
Cycles
was at
really
that
fun to
game too.
watch. Yeah, I mean, I honestly like anytime that you go to a game and you see a win, like that's it's a fun trip to the yard, right? You saw him win. So I don't really have like a ton of like specific games, but just like when you're in person and they win, it's just a good feeling.
All right, Jack. Who is your Orioles Cy Young at this point in the season?
Tyler Wells.
Tyler Wells?
I don't really think that
Yeah,
there's any way around that. I mean, he's been our most consistent pitcher for sure. He'll have some rocky starts, but they're never you're never expecting him to be bad. Like I mean, I was looking at this game earlier in the day and I saw Dean Kramer's on the slate in New York. Little did I know he came to play today and absolutely shoved. He 7 innings, 10 Ks. But like you come into the game and you thought, oh, Dean Kramer's pitching again. Like this could be a home run fest in Yankee Stadium. When you think about Tyler Wells pitching, you think, all right, I'm gonna get a lot of strikeouts, gonna keep the ball. He might let up a couple of home runs, but like it'll be 2-3 runs, right? He's the most consistent.
yeah, it's got to be Tyler Wells right now. I'd say second would maybe be Bradish, um, but Wells, like you said, he's been the most consistent. He is prone to the home run, but I mean they tend to be solo shots.
Right.
So every time Tyler Wells is on the mound, he's gonna give you a chance to win.
No doubt.
Um, and that's with the pitching staff that we have right now, that's the most that you can ask for, right? We don't
Yeah.
have an Otani going out there and just dominating every single pitching performance.
No, we
We
don't
don't
have
have,
aces.
yeah, we don't have any aces. So if you can have a guy that is consistent and keeping you in the game, that's gonna win you the Orioles Cy Young, so to say. Um,
Yeah, the Orioles have been winning a lot of games with frontline starters in Tyler Wells, Kyle Bradish, who would all be really good threes and fours on other teams. But the Orioles have been putting together a lot of really good wins with threes and fours. So like,
right.
you get like a top of the line guy, like superstar ace, man, this team could be real dangerous come October.
Um, who is your first half most valuable Oriole? Your MVO.
I I mean if like it's it's Austin Hayes, right? I think it has to be just based on numbers alone. It doesn't feel like it's Austin Hayes though because he's doing it so quietly. But
Yeah, we're gonna keep agreeing this whole show, Jack, which doesn't
yeah,
make for an exciting show. But I like, yeah, you have to pick the first half most valuable Oriole has been Austin Hayes. Um, it's weird because like I kind of like want it to be Adley, but Adley is kind of cooled off a bit. He's having some good games here or there, um, but uh Austin Hayes, just numbers wise, he's got a great average going. Like you said, he's kind of quietly up there. He's mostly been healthy. The only thing that took him out right now is that he got literally tackled at first base the other day.
yeah.
Um, so I think he's kind of day to day, and they're just kind of being pretty cautious with him right
Wouldn't be
now.
shocked if they kept him out until the break.
Oh, I could absolutely see him being out to the All Star
Yeah.
break,
But he's
especially so he
batting.
could play in his first All Star game.
Oh yeah, no
And
doubt.
And the thing is, like, when he is playing and the Orioles are in a tight situation, I'm like, yeah, we need a base runner. And Austin Hayes comes up. I'm like, okay, well, this is a pretty good shot. We're about to get a base runner right here. Um, so I'd have to go Austin Hayes for the most valuable Oriole.
Yeah, I mean, just Austin. He's batting 312, 352 OBP, slugging up above 400. Or not above 400. Excuse me, over 350. 8 home runs, 34 runs driven in, playing a really solid left field every day for the Orioles. But yeah, that's a good stat line, but it's a quiet stat line. There's no home
Yeah.
runs, not a lot of home runs. Doesn't steal bags. He just plays ball, man. He plays it well. So
Yeah.
it's a very quiet MVO for sure. If I had to give an honorable mention, I would go probably Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
Just the way that he commands the field and just kind of does mostly everything right.
He's the heart and soul of your team, even when he's struggling.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
is fully embraced the leadership position on this team. Finally, who is your first half surprise?
I mean, you could do a lot of guys for this one. I think that the first one that jumps out to me, Ryan O'Hearn.
Okay, yeah, oh Homer.
Oh, Homer. Is that what they're calling him these days?
That's what I called him right now.
Well, he's batting 288, OBP of 338, no PSing 834. He's got 6 homers, 22 batted in. Only has 125 at bats, but that's because he's been mostly platooned. More recently, he started more games at first base. But we come into the season, right? We look at his numbers last year, and they were pretty horrid. But he's been doing fine, man. He's already reached how many at bats that he had last year, in 20 less games, and he's doing much better than he did last year. So I think the kind of the stigma that was surrounding him when he first came to the Orioles was bad, but he's doing really good, man, as a
He's
platoon
doing
first
better than
baseman.
Franchi Cordero is, I can tell you that.
That is true.
I think we finally have a different person that we're going to talk about here, Jack. My surprise for the first half has to be Yanir Cano.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
we no, like I hadn't even heard of this guy other than just like in reading, the for the Jorge Lopez trade last year, like he was a name
Yeah,
on a list.
that's a good point.
And he wasn't even the centerpiece of that trade.
No.
And it just sort of, we brought this guy up, and next thing you know, you have another massive 6 foot tall uh relief pitcher who, when he strikes you out, is striking a pose that just looks imposing. Um, and he's just dominating everyone. I mean, it took what, like 9 appearances or something like that for him to give up a hit.
I think it was more than that.
It was a while. I mean, it was insane. And he's still pitching well. I mean, he looks a little bit more human than when he first came up, but he still has an ERA that's right around 1. And the thing is that, he's a perfect setup guy for our best closer, Felix Bautista, or our best relief pitcher, Felix Bautista. And the thing is, the way Cano is pitching, he would be a closer on any other team.
Yeah,
If we didn't have
most other
Felix
teams.
Bautista, he would be our closer. We
Yeah,
now have 2 closers. And we didn't know
sure.
that going into this year. We didn't know that until he came up, like a month into the season, something like that. And so that's got to be my surprise of the first half is Yanir Cano.
Yeah, so I mean, you think about that trade that he came over in, and it was the headliner of that trade was Cade Povich.
Who is pitching very well.
Who was pitching very well, but I mean,
he's still a year or 2 away.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a four guy trade for Jorge Lopez and Cash, and
Jorge Lopez, who unfortunately has not played well this year, and
no.
everybody was up in arms. Mike Elias was about to be burned at the stake for trading away Jorge Lopez.
Yeah, man, but Cano coming out of nowhere, kind of, and didn't have a great end of 2022.
He had like
bad.
He had like 2 appearances in the major leagues last year, and he was awful.
Yeah. Looking back at last year, he had a 11.5 ERA over 18 innings, 23 earned runs in 18 innings. Walked 16 guys.
And he's got a great story too. I mean, the fact that he was like exiled from Cuba and stuff like
Hmm.
that. That he missed an entire year because he was banned from playing baseball in Cuba.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, he's what, like 28 years old,
he's
something like that?
29.
29. And he's now in his first like real major league appearance, getting a shot, and he is taking full advantage of it. And he's going to be an all-star, which is awesome.
Yeah, which is
Um,
crazy awesome. Yeah, cut down the walks. He's only walked 6 guys over 41 and 2/3 innings,
your
37
guy,
strikeouts.
your guy,
What? What are you talking
oh
about?
Homer,
Did he just hit a home run?
he
Yeah,
just
he
hit a home
did.
run. He just hit a
Let's
home run.
go.
It's because you talked about him, Jack. It's
Yeah,
because you talked about him.
let's go.
Oh, that got Adley home. Let's go. All right. 6-3
6-3, tie
Orioles in the
nine.
top of the ninth right now.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, you love to see it. Um, Jack, I think anytime we get to a halfway point discussion, we do have to look ahead. I think if this discussion was happening in 2019, 2020, 2021, um, we wouldn't have this discussion of like what do we want to see moving forward, because we'd be seeing a lot of losing teams. But here we are, we have a team that is got like the fifth best record in baseball right now, is second in the American League East. Um, and even though they've hit a skid recently, they're still considered one of the best teams in baseball right now.
Hmm.
So we kind of have to look forward for the rest of the season. What is your second half projection? What do you expect to see from this team for the second half of the season?
I think that this skid that we've been going through right here, that's the floor for this team. We haven't been pitching great. Bats have been cold, and that won't be the case for very long. At least for the bats, for sure. I know the bats are going to heat back up. We're seeing it right now, in this game. I would expect the Orioles to continue at least at this pace that we're at right now, or like the pace that we were seeing in May and April. I don't think that there's going to be a complete implosion. I just think that this lineup that we have now is way too deep for any complete catastrophes to occur.
Where do you see them ending?
I do think that they're going to sneak a wild card spot. I'm really hoping that they can hold on, see a home playoff game. But I do see them getting wild card. I don't like our chances of catching the Rays, but keep hopes high.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think July is kind of a really big test of a month. We talked about going into May when we still really weren't sure who this team was. May was a juggernaut month, and we were hoping to just go 500, and the Orioles actually had a really good May. Um, we slid a bit in June, but we also had a bunch of injuries in June. We have guys coming back from injury now. I mean, Mullins is back. He's not fully playing to the level that Cedric Mullins can play since he's been back, but he is back. Um, Ryan Mountcastle will be back soon. Um, we June was a rough month in part because we had so many injuries. July is, I mean, we're playing the Yankees right now, always hard. The Twins, who always have our number for some reason. I don't care how good or bad the Twins are. They always have the Orioles number.
I
We
like
got to
how we
play
play
them
the
twice this month.
Twins. I like how we play the Twins at Target Field, though.
Okay. Well,
So
I like your optimism. But we still have to play the Dodgers this month.
the
Um,
Marlins,
the Marlins this month,
the
who would have
Rays,
thought, looking at the schedule at the beginning of the year, looking at the
yeah,
Marlins series, thinking like, oh yeah, that's going to be a tough one,
right. The
right?
Rays for 4,
Yeah,
the Yankees for 3 more, and then the Phillies.
it's not an easy month.
No,
They it I think July is kind of where we're really going to see, like you said, we're going to see the floor. 500 baseball would be a success in July, and then I think if this team can get hot in August and September, I think we're looking at a wild card team, perhaps the top wild card spot. I would love to see that, like you said, get some home playoff
God, that'd be
game.
so awesome.
Um, so I think the worst that this team is going to end up is taking the last wild card spot. Um,
Yeah, I don't
I
see
think
them
that's
missing the
absolutely worst.
playoffs again.
Yeah, I don't think they're missing the playoffs. I think they will get into the playoffs. And I think if they can make it to at least the divisional round, I think that's a success for this year. Get this really young team some playoff experience, and then
Mm-hmm.
next year, I think Elias had the liftoff quote last season. I think that come this off season is the true liftoff quote, liftoff moment. Um, Something that is going to be big, and we'll talk about it later, is that Masson lawsuit finally got settled. And when it got settled, $100 million that had been put aside because they were trying to figure out what to do with the lawsuit, the Orioles are getting $100 million from that. So $100 million went to the Nationals, $100 million went to the Orioles. So suddenly the Orioles have $100 million that they can play around with.
Yeah, dude.
I think the true liftoff is next year. In-house Jack, which we've talked about every year for the past like 2 or 3 years. The Orioles have the best farm system in baseball. Looking at how the Orioles stand right now, how would you improve this team in-house for the second half?
In-house, so like from the farm.
Doesn't have to be from the farm. It can be from guys that are already at the major league level. Are you moving guys around? What would you
I
do?
see.
Yeah, so basically anything outside of a trade. How would you
Yes,
improve this team right now?
yes, I see. Um, hmm. Just kind of trying to look and see what we got
I can give you some of
going
my ideas while
on.
you look at that if you want.
Yeah, well, I think Jorge Mateo's done.
Yeah, I think
I
Jorge
know.
Mateo has to. We kind of talked about it a little while ago. Um, he's not going to get traded anywhere because there's not going to be anybody that wants him right
There
now,
might
right?
be.
Maybe as part of a package with like 5 other guys.
Yeah.
He'd just be kind of one of those guys like, hey, you want to take this guy off our hand? Um, I think Jorge Mateo, realistically, I don't think he's getting DFA'd. But I do think he now becomes kind of your platoon guy. He becomes that pinch runner in the ninth inning sort of guy. I would start Gunner at shortstop almost every game. And then second base and third base, I would have um, Westberg playing almost every day. And then whatever position, if he's not doing third base or second base, you're platooning him basically with Urias and Frazier. You're sort of platooning him with them, but he should be an everyday player. Kowser's in the outfield every day. You have Santander DHing, right?
Yeah.
Get him out of the outfield. Aaron Hicks is your fourth outfielder. Hayes and Mullins are your everyday outfielders. Santander, if you need a break for Mountcastle at first base, he can be your break for Mountcastle at first base. I don't know what you do with O'Hearn. I mean, if you can find room to keep O'Hearn, and maybe you'd start Mountcastle on the splits with O'Hearn. Maybe they're starting on the splits, something like that. But I think the biggest thing is what you started out with, which was Mateo's got to stop taking at bats from guys that can get on base.
Yeah, I mean, you look at tonight, like how tonight's game has gone and what lineup that they use today. Like that works. That works, right? I mean, this is a tough pitcher that the Yankees sent out there today. I mean, he had good numbers through his first couple starts. So I wouldn't call this like a cakewalk of a game. But yeah, this lineup, that's the A lineup. And I think that
And
you
it didn't have
throw
Austin Hayes. It didn't have our most valuable
right,
Oriole in it.
right. So I mean, but then like, Aaron Hicks had a pretty good game. So
Mm-hmm.
like what do you do? Right? That's a good problem to have. Um, but I think that what I would do is platoon Mountcastle and O'Hearn. That's fine. Mateo needs to stop taking at bats, like you said. I agree. and let some of these young middle infielders just kind of plug and play until we figure out what works.
Yeah.
And then you run with what works.
I think the other thing I would do on the pitching side of it is I think it's time for Grayson to come back up. He's pitching well at AAA now. I think he's figured things out. I think after the All-Star break, you bring Grayson Rodriguez back up. I think Cole Irvin goes to the bullpen. He becomes your long relief guy. Between Irvin and Vespi in the bullpen, we have improved our bullpen a significant amount. I'm not saying that's going to solve all the problems. I'm just saying that it will improve the bullpen by a significant amount, which will be good. And then, we'll see what happens with John Means down the stretch. They're hoping it sounds like August for him, late August. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Would be nice if he did come up, because then he could take another starting spot, or maybe he'd work in the bullpen for a good bit, and he'd be better in house than some of the guys we have been thrown out there.
Yeah.
Trade expectations, Jack. So, who do you think is on your hot seat of being traded, and what trades realistically do you think that you could see happening for this team? Oh my, Anthony Santander just had a catch. After I talked about his glove not being as good.
Yeah, dude. The trades are tricky because the market is in high demand for high level starting pitching. It's really not there. And I mean, that's what we need, right? I don't really think we need another position player, because
nope.
we're pretty
We've
deep
got too
all
many
around.
position players.
Yeah, but so obviously, the need right now is starting and middle relief pitching.
Yeah.
Trade from the surplus of middle infielders that we have. I would say, after seeing Westberg now, that he shouldn't move anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's batting .320 through a small sample size, yeah, but kid can play ball. Yeah.
Here's my untouchables right now. Adley Rutschman. Right?
Yeah.
Gunnar Henderson. Colton Cowser. Jordan Westberg. Cedric Mullins. Grayson Rodriguez.
Dude, I hate doing untouchables because, like, I don't know. I feel like only a few guys, like even less than what you said, are untouchable.
Felix Bautista. He's untouchable to me.
You know what?
Literally, because he just got the save.
Put a bird on it, baby.
Put a bird on it. I think the guys that are on the hot seat right now, as far as being traded, I think Santander's on the hot seat.
Yeah.
I think Austin Hayes could be on the hot seat, because I think this is as high as his trade value is going to get.
Mm-hmm.
And with Heston Kjerstad coming up by the end of the year, you got to make room. I think some of the guys who have kind of come up and down and whatever, the Joey Ortizes of the world, I could see Joey Ortiz is on the hot seat. I could see sort of our guys that are in the top 100 prospects, but in the later, like above Jordan Westberg. Any of those guys I could see being on the hot seat as far as being traded. I think in order to get what we want, which is starting pitching, I think it's going to have to be a deal where it's probably a major league talent with one or two high-level prospects.
Yeah, most teams, I'm just like thinking about who the Orioles can make a deal with for starting pitching. And, the Guardians come to mind first with Shane Bieber. And the Guardians are in high need of a major league ready bat, like now, because they don't have that many. They're real deep in starting pitching, coming up from the farm, but they just really don't have a lot of major league production on offense. So
What about the White Sox? Because they have said both Dylan Cease and Lance Lynn
I
are.
do the Orioles, if they sign Lance or trade for Lance Lynn, then Mike Elias is off the rails. We do not need Lance Lynn. Dylan Cease, I would be ecstatic about. It would take a haul to get a guy who just won the Cy Young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cease would be awesome, dude. He's got a ton of
Yeah,
control left too. I mean, yeah, but you're that would take a haul. Like that
it
would
would
take
take
a
a haul.
Berg, that would take a Cowser, that would take
They're
Logan
also talking
Ortiz.
about with the White Sox, they're going to blow it up. So they're saying even like Tim Beckham is on the trade block and stuff like that.
Oh, Tim Beckham.
Who was that? Who am I thinking of?
Tim
It's
Beckham.
who's their big infielder?
What? Why am I blanking on his name?
Let's look this up.
Dude.
Tim Anderson.
Tim Anderson. That's a
Why
Tim
am I thinking Tim
Beckham.
Beckham? Tim Anderson is on the trading block. So they're looking to blow it up. And so they're going to need a bunch of young guys to come
legend. Do you remember that?
in. Yeah, I remember Tim Beckham. That's what I was thinking of. What a waste of a signing.
That was it's getting late, Jim.
I know. We're not used to doing it this late.
I know.
But yeah, so they're going to be looking for a lot of young talent. I think that's someone. If the Orioles wanted to go after Dylan Cease, I think they would be the ideal team. To go after him because they have the stuff that a team like the White Sox, who are going to be starting over, would need in order to start over.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the White Sox have too many like old, not old, but older guys who are like coming down to the end of their contracts, and they need young guys.
Yeah,
and they don't have young guys.
Yeah. So I think that's more likely to me, like Spencer or not Spencer Strider. It's getting really late. Trading with the Guardians would be great. It would be great, but I think more likely the Orioles trading with the White Sox seems to me like something that is puzzle pieces fitting together.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I would love to get Cease. Like you said, he's got a lot of years of control. I've said it time and time again. Elias is not going to make any move for the 2023 Orioles that hurts the 2024 Orioles. So he's looking for a guy that has control. If he's making a trade, it's for a guy that has control. So that's what I would look for. But yeah, I'd say the slew of prospects that we have that people love, get ready, because I think anyone that's ranked lower in the prospect rankings, as in a higher number than Jordan Westberg, I think you were on the block to possibly be traded. The only guy that's left in the minor leagues now that is untouchable to me is Jackson Holiday.
Not even like you think Kerstad?
Okay, maybe higher than Kerstad.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like we feel this way about like almost all of our prospects. That we want to keep them and like see them through, but there's a backlog. We're gonna need to see some of them go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Jack, we're getting late. I think we need to start to wrap this up.
Adley Rutschman in the home run derby is the most electric thing I've heard all year.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. We're gonna look forward to the All-Star game and the home run derby when we do our next episode on Sunday. We're gonna finish recapping both this series and the Minnesota series, but I think we're gonna do a nice big All-Star game look ahead for this episode on Sunday. Jack, before we get to our major giveaway announcement, do you have anything else you'd like to touch on?
No,
I don't.
All
right. So here's the story, folks. I've been hinting at it all week. We got a major giveaway announcement. This past week, as I was getting ready for floppy hat night, two of my close friends, Stephanie and Eddie, they came walking up my driveway and they had a box. All right. They said, Jimmy, we brought a present. They sit this box down in front of me and it makes a big thud. It's a heavy box. And handwritten in ballpoint pen on this box is it just says free baseball cards, right? And I'm like, what is this? Where, like, are these baseball cards? Where did you get this box? Why, like, did you find this in your dad's attic or something? And he said, no, we were walking over here and on the side of the road with all this stuff that was free was this box that said free baseball cards. So we thought we'd come bring you this box of free baseball cards. I look at the label that's on the box and it says marketing packs, right? And I open it up and sure enough, Jack, it is not hundreds, but thousands of these Topps marketing packs of just baseball cards. They're mini packs of Topps baseball cards. And so we are sitting now on a gold mine of baseball cards. Thousands of packs of baseball cards.
What will we do with them?
What are we gonna do with them? So we have done a couple giveaways here. Jack's done a couple baseball card giveaways here. Last year I did some like bobblehead giveaways and stuff like that. People like giveaways. People like free stuff, Jack. People like
free stuff is fun. I don't blame them.
No, I don't blame them either. So what we're gonna do from here on out is the giveaways that we've done, where you like a post, you retweet it, and you make sure you're a follower, and then you get entered into a contest. We're gonna do that now, but we're gonna do that every week. And how this will work, and I'll put out a tweet, and I'm gonna do a TikTok to explain it all in a little bit more detail. But every week, as you guys know, as soon as I post the podcast, I send out a tweet that says like, hey, the podcast is now live. The audio podcast is now live. You can watch it. If you like, retweet, and follow that post, you will be entered to be that week's winner for baseball cards. We're going to give you a couple of these free packs of baseball cards. And we're just going to do that every week. For us, we hope that it helps get the word out about us. You retweeting us helps get the word out about our show. For you guys that have been following, I think it'll be a fun chance to get little rewards out to people that follow UPod Street to give them some baseball cards. Jack, does that sound like a good plan to you?
Sounds like a great plan, man. A lot of good rookies in this set. You got Ryan Mountcastle rookies specifically. These are 2021 Topps.
It's a top-rated rookie.
There you go.
Boom.
So definitely some fun stuff to look forward to coming up here.
So, guys, thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you watched while the game was going on, good for you, because we were doing it watching the game go on as well. I hope you guys enjoyed us. Thank you for giving us a couple days to get our stuff together. Jack had to go to Connecticut and like see his family, like family's important or something like that. But we're gonna be back on Sunday, our normal time. Hey, our first show during a game, Jack, and we got an Orioles win.
There you go.
Can't get better than that.
Yeah. A shout out to my grandfather. His birthday was this week. He watches every show, never misses one. So appreciate you and happy birthday.
Hey, shout out Jack's grandfather and happy birthday. All right, have a good one, guys.
See ya.
You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPod Street. Follow us on Twitter @UPod Street and @JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify.
On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.